Alright guys, 4.6 Savage here, and today we're doing our premiere video of Spec Battle. And today, on Spec Battle, we have our two contenders. This would be a 97 V6 Mustang and a 97 Mustang GT. Main difference between these two, one has a V6 engine and one has a V8. Now we'll break it down into the specs. So we're going to start off with the V6 Mustang, and the V6 Mustang was a 3.8 liter V6. It had 150 horsepower with 215 foot-pounds of torque, and it weighed in at 3,077 pounds curb weight. Now, the V6 was supposed to be Ford's more fuel economical Mustang. Based on what I've read and via experience, it was not. The GTs with the 4.6s used to get 19, 18 miles per gallon. The V6s got 18, 17. So they were about in the same category. Now, with any Mustang of that year, of the SN95 year range, you have a 15.4 gallon gas tank. Average trip on it was about 250 miles with the Mustang. If you had a V6, you could probably squeeze 260, 280 out of it. I've done 300 with V8, but then again, I tune my car, so that's a little different. But we'll get to the suspension. Suspension was, it had 300 progressives or linear springs in the front, 300 foot-pounds. GT V6 didn't matter. They were like 11 inches uncompressed, and I think they dropped down to like 9 inches when they're compressed. I can't remember off the top of my head. The rear was 160, 170, I think, progressives, and I can't remember the specs off of those. But we'll get to sway bars next. The sway bar of a V6 is a 27 millimeter. Sway bar only, or a V6 only has a front sway bar. I'm sorry, I'm a little sick, guys. Now the front sway bar is all they felt they needed on the V6s. On the GTs, they got a 30 in the front. That's a 30 millimeter sway bar with a 23 out in the rear. Now, I've heard of some people saying their V6s came with sway bars. I have never seen it. I know I have worked on several V6 Mustangs, and the control arms did not even have slots in them for control arms, or for sway bars. What else? The curb weight of the GT is 3277. It is 200 pounds more heavier with the V8 engine than it is the V6. Bigger motor, 2 more cylinders, bigger crank. You know the deal on that. Now the rotors. This is the same for GT and V6. They're 10.8 inches in the front, 10 inch in the rear. You've got a 68 millimeter front single piston caliper in the front, and you've got a 38 millimeter piston in the rear, single as well. Now the V6, with the V6 you had 2 transmission options. You had a 5-speed manual, which was the T5, or you could order the 4R70 automatic. The bell housings are different for the 4R70. There was 2 bell housing designs. There was a 4.6 only design, and there was I do believe it was 5.0 to 5.0 to the 3.8 liter V6 for the 4R70. Now for the GT, you had another 5-speed manual, which was the T45, and you had the 4R70. As was stated before. You cannot use the same drive shafts in V6 to V8. If you swap a drive shaft out of a 4R70 from a V6, it has to be a V6 transmission it's going in. There's a different amount of splines on the tail shaft. So make sure you know that. Now we get to rear ends. We'll start with the obvious. All V6s came with 7.5 rear ends for the SN95 range. All V8s, whether it was GT, Cobra, didn't matter. It was a 8.8 with a track lock in it. 7.5 rear ends did not come with track lock. They were all open diff. You could upgrade to a track lock. Now, the V6s had a 273 rear gear. The GTs came with I think you could order them 273 with the with the 5-speed, and it was a 308 with the automatic. The later years got 308s standard, and performance pack was 327s. But as we got, like I said before, fuel economy ratings, the V6 was rated higher, even though the actual mileage was not higher. There really wasn't any differences. The V6 didn't have fog lights. V8s did. GTs will always have fog lights, and the V6s will not. They, even in the stock GT, the stock bumpers, V6s had blockouts for where the fog lights were. GTs were the only ones that got the GTs were the ones that got the fog lights. Cobras did as well, but they were different. So what else? You could get just as many options with the V6 as you could the V8, i.e. keyless entry things. Aztec Gold was the worst color scheme that Ford ever apparently came out with. I've seen a few in the junkyard, but their numbers on them was very seldom. As for anything else, the MAF sensors were integrated in with the air cleaner housing on V6s. V8s, they were not; they were separate. The V6 also had, I'd say, better exhaust manifolds than the V8 had stock, but more power was. You look over that. What else? Nothing else really changed from the V6. The dashes. There we go. The clusters. The cluster on a GT will read 150. I think it'll read 120 on the V6. The tack is also only set to go to 6. Red lines at 6 on a V6. It's 7 on a GT. Gauges look a little different. Everything's a little bit moved. That's about it for all that they had in difference. I mean, you had the same quad-link suspension, the four link, everything was about the same. The only real difference I think there was in badging. You had V6 badges or you had the GT badges. The bumper said Mustang on a V6. It'll say Mustang GT on a GT. There's really no differences in trunks. There's no interior differences. There's really no differences at all. The V6, everything's the same from the V6 to the GT, aside from everything I mentioned. Now I ran the same V6 fuel pump in my swap for a couple months before I decided to switch it out, and I only switched it out because I was doing a filler neck and I had the tank already out. But that's going to be all for this episode of Spec Battle. Like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. If you want me to continue, I'll continue. So we'll skip next week and see what your comments are and how the feedback is on it. If y'all don't like it, I'm not going to do it. This is a lot of effort for me to put in. especially with work. And this video didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to because I've been so busy with work lately. I had to get some personal things done, and I finally got me another car. That'll be another video. That will be another couple of videos. Some how-to videos. Some we'll get into that later. I'd like to thank you all for liking and subscribing. I am almost at 500 subscribers. Remember, at 500 subscribers, I will be announcing my giveaway. At 1,000, the giveaway will take part. I will do a random selector, and we'll give away whatever I choose. Upon 1,000 subscribers, I'm also thinking about starting merch. Maybe not. We'll see how it goes. The new car will have banners on it. But that's about all I have for this video. Remember, like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and make sure you comment and tell me what you think. Alright, you guys, remember, be savage.